going to record. Here we go. All right. I feel like my internet's a little, hopefully it's good. Everybody can hear me okay? We're good. We're not like breaking up. Okay, please use the chat. If I'm like breaking up or my internet is weird, let me know so that I know to like, but anyways, okay. All right, y'all. So welcome to everybody jumping in. I'm going to keep checking who I need to approve. So tonight our guest speaker is Casey. He is amazing. He's my like, I don't even know. I'm like, is he accountant? I just call him my tax guy. I don't know. I was literally telling him today, I'm like, oh, what's your official title so I can introduce you properly? I've been telling everybody he's a CPA. No negatory. He's like an EPA. Okay, I'm just gonna let him do it. But he is awesome. So I started working with him earlier this year and just super quick. I went, if you don't know me or my story, if you're not on our team, when I started Plexus, I went Emerald, which is one of the top 3 ranks in the business in about 14 months. And I didn't really know very much. It's a, 6-figure rank. And then the next summer, I built my husband to that same rank. And so there's a lot of income coming in really, really quickly. And some of you are probably going to laugh at this, but I didn't know that I was supposed to put money aside for taxes. It's not coming out in a business like this. And so I'm like, oh, I didn't get the memo. And I will never forget exactly where I was in an airport out in Utah when I got a call from an old tax guy that I use that has no MLM experience and just, I don't know, that I owed $38,000. And my family had just been through our first round of mold remediation and had drained our savings accounts. Normally, actually, because of Plexus, we had that in savings and we would have been okay, even though it wasn't earmarked for taxes. But unfortunately, we were completely unprepared and it was a disaster. And my sponsor has shared that she went through something similar. And I've realized how many of us are, I believe, like the best offense is a strong defense. And so I think we really got to start like in earlier, like knowing like, okay, what do I need to know about taxes? When do I need to know it? It looks like it's breaking up. So I'm going to move. Like, what are the write-offs that I need to know, right? Like, what can I be writing off? What do I now? Do I need to bring in somebody like Casey? Do I need somebody like Casey, or can I do some of this stuff by myself? Like, at what income level do I need that? What kinds of things could this person do for me? What do I need to know, and all of that? So that's why we wanted to run this call. So that, and honestly, if you're like, oh, I'm too late, or it's too, I literally started working with Casey this year and set up an S Corp and an LLC this summer after all the deadlines. It all got approved. He's already saved us like almost $7,000 this year. And this is the first year we're going to have a refund we usually owe. And that can be life-changing, y'all. So I'm just really excited for him to be here and to share a little bit more. He has like the highest certification with the IRS. And so he knows his stuff. But one of my favorite things about him is his likability. When a friend of mine that I met, Alexis, a mutual friend, she also uses him. She was at the top of Mary Kay. And then she pivoted and she's kind of doing her own thing with retreats and in-person events and podcasts and stuff. And so she's got like multiple streams of income. And she recommended Casey. And so I jumped on a call with him. He does like a complimentary consultation. And I was like, I have met several people in person that are very dry, so dry. Like, the tax guy thing. Sorry, Casey, but like it's a thing. He's not that way. Sometimes they talk in a way that I'm like, I'm gonna need this in layman's terms because they're very smart, right? They know a lot of things in numbers, and I'm like, not my gifting. And Casey has been so gracious. He probably won't say this because he's so respectful of his clients, but if I had to guess, I'm probably in the top 5% of people that have been difficult to work with in the way of so many questions and she's just not getting it. Like, did I do my payroll right? How do I do that? And he has just been so every question, he never makes me feel like you're not getting this. Like, why are you not getting this? Like, come on. Which just for me, like, I feel like I was a hot mess with all this stuff. My brain doesn't work that way. All the forums, he's just been amazing. And so you're looking for someone with grace and patience and someone who knows their stuff and has a great personality, it's Casey. So I know he's got some awesome stuff to talk to you guys with stuff prepared to talk to y'all about. And then we're going to open it up for questions too. So I'm going to pass it over to him. He can tell you kind of exactly like his certifications and all of that, and then go into his stuff. You ready, Casey?
Awesome. Thank you, Kim. What an introduction. That was awesome. And yeah, she's probably like one of my best 5 clients. So I don't know what she's talking about there. But she's awesome. I appreciate her as well. Yeah, so my I guess I'll start with my credentials. So basically I have my master's in accounting. I got my bachelor's from UCF, Go Knights, and my master's from Stetson University, all in Central Florida, if you're familiar with that area. Um, And I got my EA license, which is EPA that cracked me up. Um, EA, which means enrolled agent. Basically, that's the highest license the IRS gives out. It's a federal license. I can do all 50 states, and in fact, I have like 25 different states right now, all over the U.S. I got one in Hawaii. I'm in Florida. That time difference is crazy, but I'm there for them. And I love every second of it. And I mean, to kind of hit on what Kim was saying, um, I I absolutely love what I do, and I handle everything with grace. And it kind of stems from my mom because I watched my mom struggle with pretty much like almost identical case what Kim went through. And it can happen to anybody, even myself. I feel like at one point, if I didn't get my accounting education, very well it could have happened to me. So I want to make sure I handle everyone with care. Um, and honestly, kind of open up the call to answer everyone's questions because I do have stuff prepared if no one has questions. But I feel like you're going to get the most value out of something if if you guys actually have legit real world questions I can answer. I do have a diagram prepared and kind of like my onboarding process, what I ask of my clients, and you can kind of use that pivot with your own accountant, or even take it to TurboTax if you're brave enough. So, um, yeah, I'm willing to start anywhere. I don't know if I can share my screen, but I can kind of show you the guys the diagram to start there. Give you guys kind of a try. Okay. Okay. Let's see. Okay. All right. So I hope you guys can see it. I don't know if you can. You guys have a picture? No? Okay. Oh, it should be there now. Okay, perfect. Cool, cool, cool. Okay, so hopefully what you guys can see is kind of like a rough triangle. I'm hoping. Uh, yep. Okay, cool. Okay. So basically, give me a thumbs up or just yell at me if this is not a triangle that you're looking at, but or a pyramid. So basically, what this is if you're making 15K and under, that's the bottom of the pyramid. Every business should have that bottom of the pyramid um, down here. And then if you're, obviously when you get to the higher, income brackets, I believe it was senior Ruby and up from what Kim showed me. That's kind of, you know, that's like the top tier where you want to be, obviously, and more, and then some. But really, this is where the most tax savings. When you think of loopholes, um, it's right up here at the top, the S corp payroll, top of the pyramid section. And I can go through each of these if you guys like. But I really, really, I can't tell you guys this enough. I want to make sure I answer all of your questions. So, um, but anyway, so for the pyramid, just real quick, the bottom right here, you're basically a sole proprietor, 50K and under. That's kind of where you want to be. You want to make sure you're tracking your income, your sales, your expenses. I recommend probably like an Excel spreadsheet or Google Sheets. Google Sheets is free. So I recommend that. And this is kind of where you want to start separating out your bank accounts. So business only. So you can have your income and your expenses in one account. So come tax time, it's super easy to hand that off to your accountant and they can figure it out for you. Also, it's a great pivot because once you become an S corp, you already have that discipline and you're rocking and rolling. It's really important. Everything in life is, to make sure you have that good foundation, just like business. The next step, a little outdated. You see that BOY there? Not needed as of December 3rd. So 2 weeks ago, a federal court basically said the BOY was illegal. You gotta love that when the federal government says what it's doing is illegal. It's kind of funny. But yeah, that's no longer needed. But I do recommend that the LLC and EIN are required, which are between that 0 and 30K range. Um, that is basically essential because you want to protect your personal assets. That's the whole point with an LLC. And also sets you up so that when your income explodes, you're prepared to become an S corp. So that's another good layer to be at. I say 0 to 30 because you really could start at the bottom here, but it's more of a gamble because you don't know how well you're going to be at the very beginning. So, um, but some people know, like that, like for example, if you're an electrician, most electricians kind of know they're going to be making a lot of money, so they immediately start off with an LLC once they enter the sole proprietorship world, or self-employment world, I should say. EIN, that's like your social security number, but for your business. It's that easy, that simple. Take it to a bank, open a separate bank account. It's great. You can also hire employees, which we'll also need for the S Corp. All right, look, zoom in. Okay, let's take advantage of that. Um, the business insurance, or sorry, the 30 to 60K range, uh, this is kind of the fun part where you really need to start looking at getting professional bookkeeping software like QuickBooks Online, even hiring a bookkeeper if you think it's worth it, not worth your time. And Kim actually asked this question when she was, kind of interviewing me to be her accountant. Um, Her question was, well, I just do this all myself. Like, why do I need a bookkeeper? And I thought about that question for quite some time. And I think the best analogy I can come up with, or even a metaphor really, is it's almost like, I don't know if you're familiar with IKEA, but if you buy furniture and you take it home, IKEA is notorious for this, and you gotta set it up, right? You gotta build it yourself. It's affordable, it's cheap, but you gotta put some sweat equity into it. And bookkeeping is almost very similar to like that. The only difference is that instruction booklet you get with the furniture, just throw it out. I mean, you could probably build the furniture, you'll probably figure it out, but you're going to be missing some screws, you're going to be missing some parts, and if it's a chair, good luck sitting in it. So I mean, that's basically what it's like to have, to do your own bookkeeping. It's better to do something than nothing. But once you really want to start saving money on taxes, you got to really hire, someone out that kind of knows what they're doing. Um, and that's kind of a great transition too. How do you know if someone knows what they're doing? Ask them what a reconciliation is. If they don't know what a reconciliation is, don't hire them. Honestly, if they need to have some kind of like certification, so like an EA, a CPA, um, the minimum I would look for is a QuickBooks certified bookkeeper. If they don't have QuickBooks certifications, don't hire them. Um, just don't. I feel like if they're, I don't know, like why not? I mean, QuickBooks certification takes probably a week to get. It's not hard. You need some discipline to sit down and do it. So um, that's what I recommend. But honestly, if you reach the S corp status, you need a tax accountant. That's going to be your EA or a CPA. That's really where you don't want to mess things up. I mean, it's just that simple. Um, so we're finally there. Took forever. My apologies, but we're here. S corp and payroll. Um, this is where all the fun begins. This is where you have the accountable plan, the Augusta rule. This is where you can kind of play with your wages to make sure, like I don't know, like I'll put it this way: like let's say you make 100K net income, you can actually, the recommendation is you do 50% out to W-2, and that way you're avoiding the FICA taxes. FICA taxes are basically like your Social Security and Medicare. Half of your income avoids that tax, which we love. Now, if you're just a sole proprietor, single member LLC, and you're not an S corp, you're being taxed pretty much double on all of your income. And the S corp is it's really the only place where you can kind of avoid those FICA taxes. If you're younger, and you're depending on Social Security, don't really. I mean, I kind of recommend the more aggressive 50% allocation that I kind of gave with your net income and W-2s. If you're older and in retirement, you really don't need to qualify for Social Security and Medicare. So just keep. I mean, I would probably be more aggressive. I'd probably be like 60%, 70% of your wages. Uh, Out of your net income, just because you're going to need those credits to get your retirement benefits. Um, that was a lot. I am so sorry. But anyway, so why do you care about being an S corp? That's what everyone cares about, right? So I'll say that one last bit and I'll open it up for questions. But basically, why do you want to be an S corp is because once you're at that 55 to 60K net income, like what you take home after deductions, you're going to save probably around $5,000 to $6,000 in taxes. Now keep in mind, you got to pay an accountant. So really, you're probably netting around 2 to 3. But that's still a trip to Europe for at least 2 days, and then but you get my point. So basically, I mean it's you're leaving money on the table by not doing this. And it compounds. So let's say you make 200K, then you're really saving about 20,000 in taxes, and it just keeps compounding. I mean, you go all the way up to probably about 1.2 million, and then we're gonna have to have another conversation. Um, but yeah, until you reach the $1 million net income point, this is really worth it. So I recommend that for sure. And that's it. I talked a lot, but I hope that kind of prompted you guys with some questions.
You are so funny. I don't feel like you talked a lot at all. Well, my team's used to me. They're like, please, Kim puts us to sleep until 9:30. But there are a couple questions in the chat.
Oh,
And like there was somebody that said, I should have been an LLC a long time ago, which honestly, Casey, we've had so many conversations and I didn't even realize that I was supposed to be an LLC between like to 30. I don't think anybody knows that at all, which is exactly why I wanted you to run this call. And I know there's confusion about what's the difference between like LLC and S Corp. So this was super helpful. But somebody said I should have been an LLC a long time ago, but now an S Corp, I guess. Oh, well, like just do my best now. And so I was like, I think that like, yes, is helpful because people don't know. So I'm so glad you did this. But what would you say to someone that's like, gosh, I should have done this a long time ago?
Um, I guess really it's like oh gosh, I can't think of who said it, but the best time to plant a tree was like 50 years ago. The second best time is now.
Yeah.
So I mean you're still leaving, 3, 4, 5, 6K of, money that's kind of yours. It technically is yours, and you're just choosing not to take advantage of that. I mean, I get that as well because if you like simplicity, and this isn't too complicated. I mean, Kim and I probably talked, I mean, I don't know, maybe once a week for a month. So maybe four, consultations with her and she figured it out. And that's usually about the growth. The learning curve is, that's pretty much average. So um, I think if you can just devote a month of your life, to this process, you're going to save about, if you're making the money, the 60K and beyond, 5K plus. Uh, I mean, I can't sell you if you feel like that's not worth it, but I think I mean, I'm an S corp, as an accountant, so I suggest it all day.
Okay. And then there was somebody that said, Kara said, my accountant said I didn't need to get an S Corp or an LLC yet, and I'm an Emerald. So Emerald is average of like 115 a year. So what would you say? Now we know not everybody knows what they're talking about, and maybe some people misunderstand. You know that my last tax guy told me the same thing. So there's some misinformation, right?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I I never want to talk bad about accountants, but there is a knowledge gap, and uh, some are just like kind of behind the computer entering in the forms they have. They don't really do the tax planning side of it. Um, and I think that's a true detriment because uh, I feel like the IRS, or not the IRS, the federal government will shut us down, us accountants, if we don't know what we're doing. We're not providing the best feedback and consultations. I feel like we're eventually going to get shut down. Our whole industry is as tax accountants because we're not helping people. Uh, and making this super easy for people to understand. So, and if it's kind of sad when the accountants, the people that should know what they're talking about, should know this and they don't. This is I I would push it again with your accountant, especially if you have a good relationship with them. If they're uncomfortable with the S corp process, um, book a consultation with me. I don't want to step on toes, but I'll take you away. We'll figure this out.
Um, okay. And then Lauren was like, I can't believe I've never done this. Oh my gosh. Chelsea was like, how do I get his number? So I told her, I think you can just scan that QR code. Is that right? In case you
Yes, you can. And I saw 14 new messages. I don't know where to begin. So thank you, Kim, for reading these. But yes, the the top right here it says scan me. That will actually take you to my consultation page. December kind of booked up out of nowhere. But January is basically all free. There's some December dates left. So good luck. Happy hunting. Um, but yeah, January is all free. By all means, get on my schedule because that'd be awesome to talk to you guys.
Awesome. Okay, there was also a question about, okay, well, actually, real quick, because this is a quick one. Can we still switch this year to S Corp, like by the end of the year for it to count?
Yeah, I don't really recommend it. And that's only because the IRS requires you to have 50%, or not, well, they require you to have a fair wage. What does that mean? I don't know. But usually I give people the 50% guideline, because that's about right. If I was to look up, your field on Indeed.com or whatever for your type of your size of company, what would a CEO or manager get? That's kind of what you're looking at in your area. Um, that's a fair wage technically, but if you're making 100K, I expect 50% to be 50,000. So to do a 50,000 payroll and get you set up with all the different governments for payroll, I need about 2 to 3 weeks, and I have Christmas coming up. I don't want to work on Christmas. Love you guys, sorry, but no. It would just be really hard to get you approved and get your payroll out in time. Um, But for January 1st, we can start the process now for 2025, and we can really get you rocking and rolling. Uh, I think that's, I definitely highly suggest that.
And then I also saw another question, which is a very common one of like, what types of write-offs can we do? Y'all, I can send you to the link or you can look it up. Our friend Alexis that introduced us, she just did a podcast where she interviewed Casey, and I was just listening to it earlier this week. And because I think he was like the first man ever on her podcast. I was like, this is like history in the making. I need to drop everything and listen. It was so good. But it's funny, he talked about he made a joke about how sometimes women will write off their makeup and their clothes because they're like, well, I'm in front of the Zoom camera. And I'm like, that would be amazing if we could write off everything we wear. But no, you can't. However, there are a lot of things I think that you can write off that sometimes people forget. Like when you go on like a work trip, like I mean, sometimes people think of that, but y'all, if you're taking samples to the post office and you're sending out samples and like your envelopes that you're buying and your postage that you're buying, there's like so many different things. If there's gifts for your team, those are write-offs. So I'm sure he can give you some ideas. I think he might have a sheet, but yeah, that was one question is what kind of write-offs can we do?
If you give me a second, I will actually switch over. I have to protect client data, so bear with me. Okay, cool.
I should have
Okay.
told you, Casey, you can pull all my stuff up and just show people unless that's like legally allowed for you to do that. As an
I appreciate that, but I am prepared. I have a sample company over here on QuickBooks, so we can go over that as well if you guys really wanted to get nerdy with me. Now I actually have the Zoom bar stuck. Okay, there we go. So yeah, so this is the QuickBooks. I don't know if you can see it. Can you guys see the QuickBooks?
Yep.
Yep. Is that a yes? Okay, perfect. Good, good, good. So yeah, this is QuickBooks. This is what I kind of recommend once you get between the 30 and 60K range. If you're under 30K, knock yourself out, get familiar with it. I think the cheapest package is like $30. Um, Basically, you connect all your bank accounts and your credit cards, and then either you or an accountant has to go through and book these. And it's not terribly difficult. Like it's kind of like that IKEA furniture reference. You can figure it out, but I don't know if you're going to book it in the correct places. There's actually a profit and loss. I'll show you this. This is kind of answers some of the questions on what deductions I can take. Don't forget, or I haven't forgotten. I will get there. But basically, this is a profit and loss. Obviously, this is fake data. This isn't a real client, but you can kind of see there's a lot of expenses, right? And you might book something like um, a really actually common mistake I see, and I'm thinking about it, is they'll have owner contributions, like they take from a personal savings account and they put it into their business. Some people accidentally mark that as income, either they're going too quick or whatever. So they might actually have owner contributions that have already been taxed into their income again, and then they're going to get taxed again, obviously, once they get down to here. Well, this person won't because they have lost, but you get what I'm saying. And then the balance sheet. I mean, who's ever even heard of a balance sheet? So this is the IKEA thing again. The balance sheet is kind of fun. It's assets minus liabilities equals your equity. That's the basic formula. I know it's Chinese right now, but basically, this is really important if you're an S corp. Uh, and honestly, it's pretty simple. I mean, if you really look at it, assets, that's basically your bank accounts. You don't have to worry about inventory. 2017, the laws changed where you can basically expense all of your inventory, which is really nice. And I know that applies to a lot of you guys. So that's really cool. So you don't have to keep track of it unless you exceed like I think it's 2.4 million or something. It's crazy amount of money to basically where you're forced to track it. But you guys are fine, I'm sure. But hopefully not. I hope you made 2.4 million. But anyways, definitely get in touch with me. Liabilities, that's basically what your credit cards are. If you own or if you owe like your state government and payroll taxes or something, this is where all that's recorded. And this is, I'm just showing you guys this. I don't expect you guys to understand it, but basically this is the the full picture on what you're doing when you do bookkeeping by yourself. You're affecting all these reports that will eventually end up on your tax return. So you can figure it out. It's going to take a lot of time. Okay, now hopefully you can see the income statement template thing. Um, so this is really cool. So this is going to save you guys a lot of time. If you haven't paid attention, pay attention now because this will save you from all the stress you're probably in right now. Um, as your tax accountant, um, you all I really care about is like your whole numbers for the year, right? It's Boy Scout honor. Uh, because I don't really want to see all your Home Depot trips. I don't want to see all of your, I don't know, Venmos, right? I just want to see your full number. So if you made 10,000 last year, that's all I want to know. And then obviously these are the deductions to answer your prior question on what you can take, what you can't. This is a good list. Where you can kind of basically, look at this and see if any of these apply to you. Um, I think this is probably one of the best. Meals is really cool because meals, um, you can have like if you're having lunch, with one of your Plexus, friends or whatever, and you're talking about business, that's deductible. Now keep in mind it's 50% deductible. So if you spend $100, you can only take 50. But um, so that's kind of cool. I mean, most people just get coffee and they don't even think about deducting it, so that's huge. Um, Continuing education. I don't know if that would apply to you guys, but if you're doing something like a sales course or something, Tony Robinson. I mean, I'm just naming names, but that's a continuing education. You could really use that. I mean, that's huge. Your cell phone. If you're an S corp, we might do something a little different with this, but obviously, if you have business use on your cell phone, I mean, most like iPhones and stuff, you can track that now, your business use. Like if you're on Outlook or if you're on text messaging and you don't, talk to family that much, you can kind of see, okay, 60% of my apps have been business use. I'm going to take 60% of my phone bill and you can put it right here. So that's really important. Another big one for you guys, Kim kind of mentioned this with the post office, business mileage. That is probably going to be the greatest source of deductions ever. If you're an S corp, you're gonna have to probably pause this in your mind, kind of ignore what I'm saying. But single member LLCs or sole proprietors without an LLC, do this. This is so huge because like 1,000, I'll put it this way, 1,000 miles is equal to $650 of deductions. That's huge. I mean, that's huge. And if you're driving to the post office, you're driving to meet people in Plexus, you're holding events or something, take that business mileage. Another common question I get, well, I just drove from my house to a place of business. Does that count? No, it doesn't until you actually have a home office in that place of, in your home. Home office is considered a place of business. And as long as your mileage is from one place of business to the next place of business, it's deductible, the mileage is. So I make all my clients that want to take mileage, I'd make them all take the home office because it's come down to an audit. I want to make sure we have the home office on the return, and that's going to look really good. So that's essential. What is the home office? Basically, that's a place that's only used for business. So that could literally just be your desk. It could be a whole room. You just can't exceed 300 square feet. And you're actually capped at 300. So I'm just naming numbers here, but basically, if you use 300, it's a $1,500 deduction. It's easy money, guys. I mean, I know you guys are probably using storage. You're keeping your papers in a folder somewhere in a file cabinet. I don't know. I'm just making stuff up, but um, you have a place. I know you do that. It's just meant for business. You work on, you're taking a Zoom call, right? I mean, maybe on a desk. That desk can be your home office. You can't have your meals there. Your family meals. You can't have your PS5, right next to you. It has to be very business only to be in home office. So I said a lot. I'm sure we have questions.
That was so good. I actually put a few things in here and I want to make sure that I'm not leading people incorrectly because I know well, there's one more question we'll get to about QuickBooks versus something like SimplyWise for like receipt tracking and stuff. I haven't heard of that. So I'll let you address that one. But I know I was surprised that I could take my utilities and stuff like I had to figure out the square footage of my office and that there's certain things and even like the cell phone bill or if you are, buying a printer or a computer that you're working from, your laptop, if you need to make an investment like that to be able to work from it. There's a lot of things I think people don't know, don't think of. And so I put down some, Casey, that like payment vouchers, y'all. So when we are taking a discount off the product, you're taking $10 out of your own money and sending someone a $10 coupon to cover their membership. You get to write that off. At the end of the year, I have to go back into Plexus Pay, and I literally have to add up all of them throughout the whole year. It's hundreds and hundreds of dollars. So don't forget to do that. And then if you're doing giveaways for your clients, if you're doing, when you go on trips. Now, I put in Casey personal development books, seminars, conferences, because those things are like really critical in network marketing. But somebody said below, and also your apps, you guys, Project Broadcast, Canva, Flowdesk, boards, all these things I use for my business are write-offs, my own supplements, because we're in the supplement business, right? Get to be written off. An assistant, a tax guy like Casey, I get to write it off, right? So like a lot of things. But one girl, Chelsea, said, I've heard that our personal supplements can be expensed under advertising since we're a walking advertisement. We're videoing that stuff. We're taking pictures of us consuming the products. Is this true? My understanding is yes.
Yeah, I mean, as long as you're not being given it for free, yes. If you have to pay for it, yeah, it's deductible, in the amount that you paid for it. So if Plexus gives it to you for free, it's unfortunately not. But yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Because someone said her CPA or something says that she cannot count our personal supplements. And I have always done that and was always told we can. Um,
Um, no, I mean, if you're talking like shampoo in your shower, that
no,
I
no,
mean, it
like
has to
Plexus
be.
supplements that we're paying for them so that we can show them, educate them, show people how we use them, take them, what they've done for us, all that stuff.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, think about it this way: you're a bakery, right? You know, you gotta make your bread, you gotta make your cookies. You know, that's expenses. I mean, that's, and you might hand them out for samples to get people in the door, but that's deductible all day. So I would fight that,
Yeah.
for sure.
And
Now,
then
I mean, if it's like shampoo in your bathroom, that's inherently personal. No, but if it's Plexus branded, yes, all day.
yes. And Vicky had said, don't forget the annual fee, like you guys are membership fee with Plexus, 19.95 for VIPs. For us, it's 39.95. Yes, you can write that off as well. And then Casey, the question, because I don't know how to answer that about something like QuickBooks versus like Simply Wise. I've not even heard of that. Have you heard of that one?
Simply Wise. I don't think I have, but I have heard of Expensify, and I think that's very similar to that. Um, is that receipt tracking, if I'm understanding correctly?
Head receipt tracking. Yeah.
Yeah, Expensify does something very similar to that. I like Expensify. Even if you hire an accountant, I highly recommend Expensify. But what's cool about QuickBooks too, and I only know Expensify, so that's the only one I'm talking about. But if you go to QuickBooks, and I think if trying to find it. But there's like a receipt section where you can actually capture the receipts. Oh, there it is. You can actually add in your receipts to QuickBooks, and you can do it from your phone. Just email a certain email address. There it is. So you can literally just take that email address, and that'll actually update this, and your accountant sees all the receipts, and we can match it to transactions. I do recommend you have, if you don't use QuickBooks, I recommend you use something to keep track of your receipts. Because it's good to have bank records, it's good to have transactions, but what do I do as an IRS auditor? I see Walmart. Is that personal? Is that business? I don't know. So keep your receipts. If it's Best Buy, is it PS5? Is it computer? I mean, I don't know. So think of it in the point of view of an auditor and what you need to do to prove it. Obviously, if it's something very like I think a good example would be like Calendly, right, or Zoom. That's gonna be probably business. You probably don't need to keep the receipts, but you can also go online and pull that, for like 3 or 4 years. So they keep a record of all that stuff. But yeah,
Awesome. Okay. Chelsea, just message me on Facebook and I'll get you the link because I don't have the link for the recording yet. Um, does anybody have any other questions while we have Casey before we jump off? I think I got all of them that were in the chat, but feel free to unmute yourself real quick if you've got something for him.
you guys are tax pros. I like it.
My gosh, y'all make me feel like an idiot. I had like 18 million. I took massive notes even on like our intake call. And like, gosh, I don't know why this stuff has just been so hard for me. Even like all the forms for Ellen. I'm like, Casey, what do I put this on this form? What goes in this blank? What like sending picture after picture and like, oh my gosh. Um,
Yeah.
so
I
but you were so gracious and we got it done. And like I thought it was gonna be too late and it was not too late and it was already such a great decision. So like I said, that's why I wanted to run this because I see a lot of people in the chat. They're like, I wish I would have known. I should have done this a long time ago. I want my own team to know that this is something that should already be done by senior Ruby or before. Don't wait till you hit Joule to do this. So, okay.
yeah.
I don't see
I
it.
could go a little bit into pricing if that would help. I know everyone's a little
Yeah.
different in terms of pricing, but I'm more affordable than you think. I like to think. So a monthly bookkeeping, I mean, you're looking at my starting rate is 300. Um, and it kind of goes from up from there. So if you have like 7 credit cards, I have to charge a little bit more because I have to go through more of your bank accounts and reconcile them. If I see 25, I'm super happy. Usually it's more like 150, 75. That's usually the average I see. But yeah, so 300 is the starting, and most people kind of fall into that bucket. Payroll, like if you're an S corp and you really need a payroll administrator, we charge another $100 a month on top of that. And then if you're looking for just personal tax return with your sole proprietor or single member LLC, like you're not an S corp yet, you're not a partnership. Um, for our tax rates, we're starting at 375 this year for that type of return. That includes your state return. If you're an S corp, we have to charge so much more. Sorry, Kim. Um, Uh, it's not that much more. It's 750 because it is more complex. But don't worry, you're still saving, like I mentioned, net of all my fees, and you're at the 60K income, you're still netting about 2.5, 3K in that range. And I'm not even factoring in the accountable plan stuff that we can do and all that good stuff. Um, uh, so I'm being very conservative there. So even with the S corp tax return, the bookkeeping and the payroll, you're still netting about 2 to 3K. Um, Also, not only are you getting books, you're getting tax consultations like this one. Should you buy that new car? Call me. I mean, I'm reachable. Text me. Send a pigeon. I don't care. I'll answer it. You might, if you send a pigeon, it might not be relevant by the time I send it back. Um, but yeah, no, I think that's kind of our process. I mean, that's really it for pricing. I think I'm at the middle of the market. I don't want to be the cheapest because if you kind of get what you pay for, right? If I sold myself too cheap, I wouldn't have time to give you guys that white glove treatment and really talk you guys through, your experience. So yeah, I mean that's my used car salesman pitch.
Thank you so much. That was so good. I know someone was asking, is it per month? But like, yes, if you're having him do all your books, like you can hire him just to do your return, right? Like that's probably step one. Like I would have started there because I had somebody that really wasn't versed in network marketing and didn't really understand a lot of things. So even if it's just, hey, he's going to do your taxes this year, and then you have that conversation about, because even me, like y'all, I definitely have had to do a lot of personal development in the area of scarcity mindset and like, I can't afford this, I can't afford this, I can't afford him. And there is so much. We all know that the cost of something and the value are not the same, right? And so we are paying for the value. The value is I was in my office for like an entire weekend where I didn't see my kids and my husband like sweating and buried and like trying to find all my things. And if I would have just kept up on it, and like Casey said, his mom was that way, which I love. That's a big part of his why. Like, I don't want other people to have to do this. Like, I get to be out there doing what I do best, talking to people, mentoring my team, recruiting people, and Casey gets to do what he does best. And like he is way better at this stuff than me. And there's a lot more, right? There's a lot more to be said of like it can get nitty gritty. We didn't get into this, but like where you can put your kids on payroll and you can start having savings accounts and things for your kids and saving. There's so many other ways you can save and invest. And that was all stuff that I know that Casey knows that I don't know and understand. And so I love that I'm going to be able to do that. But also, like, yes, that, hey, I have this question. Would this be a good business investment for me? Would this be a good decision? Kind of like Dave Ramsey, where he's like, hey, that house, not really in your price range, right? Like, love where you're going with this, but like, this is your, and it's similar things. So you can ask him all the questions. Like he said, he just put his link if you guys want to book a call with him and see if it would be a good fit. But I have already seen, and I don't even have my first return, like in all of this from working together a full year, the value of the fact that this is going to be my first tax season where I don't have to do all of that. And like, it's really cool. So there's already just a lot of peace of mind. Moms have so many open tabs and trying to do things with business and your kids and your home. And like, this is a tab that you can close and know that it is being well taken care of for you. And to me, that is really worth the investment. And there are many people I met with that charged more. And I think he's absolutely worth every penny. So, thank you so much for being here, Casey. This was an awesome call, and I know everybody appreciates it. There's so many people that asked for the recording, so I'll post it and shoot it out.